Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Welcome to our journey into the timeless wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. In this sacred conversation, Sri Krishna guides Arjuna through confusion, fear, duty, and the deeper meaning of life. Through Krishna's teachings, we will explore who we truly are, why we experience suffering, what happens beyond this temporary body, and how we can develop real peace and spiritual understanding. As we study each teaching, our goal is not simply to gain knowledge, but to understand it, apply it in our daily lives, and gradually transform our consciousness. Let us begin this beautiful journey with Krishna.
Welcome to this explainer. We usually think of good qualities, things like kindness, bravery, composure, as traits we build up through years of schooling, maybe some cultural etiquette, or honestly, just sheer willpower. But while diving into an ancient Vedic text recently, I stumbled upon a legendary battlefield crisis that absolutely flips this entire idea upside down. Today, we're going to explore this intense moment from the Bhagavad Gita to discover where, according to these ancient texts, true compassion and virtue actually come from. It's a completely fascinating look at the soul, the mind, and the ultimate source of human goodness. Let's get right into it.
Okay, picture this. We are dropping right onto the legendary battlefield of Kurukshetra. We meet Arjuna, who is this elite, historically fierce warrior. But he isn't charging in with a battle cry. Instead, he's having a severe, visceral reaction to the impending war. He literally tells Krishna that his limbs are quivering and his mouth is drying up. It's the ultimate fight-or-flight response. Honestly, it reads exactly like a massive panic attack right before the biggest, most crucial moment of his life. He's just completely overwhelmed by the sight of his own kinsmen lined up with this intense fighting spirit.
And this goes way deeper than just shaking hands or a dry mouth. The text tells us he's completely paralyzed. He's even in tears. Why? Because when he looks across the enemy lines, he doesn't just see a faceless, generic army. He foresees the imminent, brutal death of his own blood relatives, his favorite teachers, his lifelong friends. He was already sympathetic to his own soldiers, of course, but his heart suddenly just breaks for the opposing side as well. The sheer crushing tragedy of his entire community gathering to totally destroy itself is literally breaking him down. Now, if you or I saw a legendary general suddenly collapse in tears right before a massive charge, we'd probably think, wait, is this cowardice? Has he completely lost his nerve, right? I mean, at first glance, quivering limbs and a dry mouth look exactly like a total breakdown, a sudden, catastrophic failure of courage. But the ancient commentary we're unpacking today flips our modern assumption completely on its head. Here's where it gets truly fascinating. The text fundamentally redefines this breakdown. These physical symptoms, they aren't a failure of courage at all. According to the text, they are actually the direct result of soft-heartedness. This intense, high-grade compassion is the defining hallmark of a pure devotee, or a Vaishnav. His reaction isn't a panic attack. It is a profound spiritual manifestation of empathy that only someone with genuine, unalloyed devotion could experience in such a brutal, unforgiving environment. So this draws a really stark line between two entirely different ways of living. On one side, you have the devotee. Their unflinching devotion essentially grants them qualities akin to demigods or godly persons. On the other side, you have the non-devotee. The text describes the non-devotee as someone who is merely hovering on the mental plane. Now, that might sound like a bit of jargon, but basically it means they're driven primarily by their own restless thoughts, their anxieties, and the shiny, glaring distractions of the external material world. And this is where the source material makes a claim that really caught my attention. It states that material qualifications, no matter how incredible they look on a resume, are of little value without devotional service. You could have the most advanced degrees, flawless cultural etiquette, or even mystic yoga powers. You could be honestly trying your absolute best to provide for your family. But without that core spiritual devotion, the text argues you actually lack true godly qualities. So why such a massive, uncompromising claim? Well, because as the Bhagavad Gita states, all living entities in this conditioned world are eternal, fragmental parts of the original divine source, Krishna.
Right now, we are all struggling so hard with our six senses, especially the mind. And let's be real, we all know how utterly exhausting wrestling with our own minds can be on a daily basis. True virtue, therefore, doesn't come from just forcing the mind to behave or acting cultured. It requires fundamentally reconnecting with that original divine source from which we are fragmented, like snapping a puzzle piece back into its proper place.
Okay, so how do we actually make that reconnection? The text lays out an exact 4-step process for this. Step 1 is engaging in devotional service, things like hearing, chanting, and remembering. As you do this, step 2 naturally just happens. The heart becomes purified of all that heavy external material noise. With a clear, purified heart, you hit step 3, which is deeply understanding your true relationship with the divine. And that finally leads to step 4, reviving your original unconditioned Krishna consciousness, the whole shebang.
And once that original consciousness clicks back on, something absolutely incredible happens. As the Srimad Bhagavatam notes, the exalted qualities of the demigods actually begin to physically manifest in that person. Because the living entity is part and parcel of the divine, when they revive that connection, they automatically possess all those good divine qualities in a small quantity. It's wild. You don't have to artificially fake being a good person or force yourself to be kind. Because you're reconnected to the divine, those qualities naturally just blossom from the inside out.
Now, the author doesn't just leave this as some abstract, floaty philosophical concept. He gives us a highly concrete checklist of 26 specific good qualities that automatically show up in a true Vaishnava. He even argues that it is only by the presence of these very specific traits that you can truly distinguish a real devotee from a non-devotee. So let's actually break down what this looks like in practice.
First up, let's talk about how they interact with the world around them. Notice the total, absolute lack of malice here. They purposefully do not make enemies. They are perfectly truthful, and they treat absolutely everyone as an equal. They are inherently magnanimous, meaning they are always working for the benefit of others rather than just themselves, and they offer respect to everyone without demanding it in return. This is exactly the kind of intense soft-heartedness we saw completely paralyzing Arjuna on the battlefield earlier.
Now, internally, it is a complete transformation. Far away from the chaotic noise of the modern world, their inner state is steady, grave, and incredibly peaceful. They are mild, clean, poetic, and expert in what they do. But my absolute favorite trait on this list is silent. And no, that doesn't mean they take a vow of silence and literally never speak. It means their minds are finally quiet. They are totally free from the exhausting, endless chatter of mental speculation that most of us have to deal with every single day. Finally, their spiritual state is defined by absolute, unshakable freedom. They aren't bound by possessions or lingering material desires. Because they perfectly control their senses and are completely surrendered to the divine source, they are totally immune to the illusions of material energy. They don't even desire respect for themselves, taking only what they need to maintain the body and absolutely nothing more. So wrapping up this explainer, we are left with a pretty profound challenge from these ancient texts. We've seen how Arjuna's physical collapse wasn't weakness at all, but a highly elevated compassion born directly from his connection to the divine. So if standard education, worldly culture, and just trying really, really hard to be a good person are truly of little value on their own, what is the true foundation of your own good qualities? Are they rooted in the temporary external world, or are they blooming from a much deeper spiritual reconnection? It's definitely something fascinating to chew on. Thanks so much for exploring this with me.